And the first test match between Ireland and South Africa is wrapped up at Loftus. Great atmosphere, great performance by the Springboks, and perhaps a scoreline that flatters Ireland a little bit. I felt that Ireland weren't that good in the game. I'll get to this in a little bit, but I don't feel like the scoreline really shows how dominant the Springboks were for pretty large periods in this game. But let's look at this game from a bit of an in-depth perspective. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Tons of content coming your way, and let's get into it. I think the first big thing that comes out of this game is the fact that Ireland's attack wasn't that threatening. One of the big pieces in this Irish game is the fact that their attack tends to be very deadly. And in this game, it just wasn't like that. And a big reason for this was that Ireland just didn't get any attacking momentum during large periods in this game. They had 112 carries, but they only made 216 post-contact meters. And because of this, they only managed 160 passes, which is a lot lower than what they would usually want. Ironically, the Springboks' attack looked the most deadly during this game. And that's quite surprising. The Springboks used the width of the field so much during this game. They made 175 passes in total. Now, in one of my previews, I said that I think the Springboks are going to target in the middle of the field, where the Irish defense tends to be very aggressive and where weak connections can form. But they didn't really do that a lot, and one of the reasons for that was that the Irish defense was actually quite good during this game. They had a lot of strong connections during the game, and even though the Springboks did have a lot of attacking momentum at times, especially when they went out wide and found space, the Irish defense managed to set up quite strongly and quickly to really prevent the Springboks from getting even more attacking momentum. I also said that I think Kwagga was going to be the primary ball carrier in these pods a lot, and he was going to play a pivotal role in the attack. And if you actually look at the game, he did receive the ball and he was in that position a lot during their attack. So he would get the ball and then he would spread it wide. And I think this was just good communication. I think that they saw that the Irish didn't have a lot of weak connections in that middle part of the field, and then they decided to go wide. And this is where we as Springbok supporters can feel very proud of this team, because it means that they have a lot of dynamic systems to their attack. So while this is good and all, the Springboks do really need to work on not letting their attackers be isolated a lot. Because Ireland managed to set up their defensive connection so strongly and so quickly, it meant that they could really compete for the ball. And this had a massive effect on the game. South Africa lost the ball 17 times during the game, while Ireland lost it only 14 times. That's quite high from both teams. And I think they lost it in different kinds of ways. The Springboks really just, like I said, they were isolated. So it's these little technical details that they'll have to go back and really look at, making sure that their support runners are in place when they do in fact go wide. For Ireland, however, there were a lot of really basic errors that we just don't see them making a lot. For example, double pumping at the line-out. That's a very basic mistake that I don't think I've ever seen Sheehan make. Maybe once before somewhere along the line, but it was quite strange to me to see them make these very just rudimentary errors. And it really allowed the Springboks back into the game and really took a lot of pressure off of them. Another basic error is that one from James Lowe where he dropped the ball backwards off of the kickoff, and then the Springboks got the scrum and then the penalty try from that scrum. That might be the stupidest mistake that James Lowe has ever made during his career, which says a lot about him because he's a phenomenal player, and the fact that it had to happen in this game specifically, I don't know if it was just bad luck in particular, but not good. And this is why I'm saying I think the scoreline really flatters Ireland a little bit, because these basic errors put them under heaps and heaps of pressure. If it wasn't for individual moments of brilliance, like for example the try where Dan Sheehan gave it out the back to Lowe and then Lowe gave it inside to, I think it was O'Brien, like that was insane, and it allowed the scoreline to be a lot closer towards the end. If we look at the set pieces, I think the Springboks were on top overall, although they did struggle a little bit in the scrums. particularly early on. I know they got that massive penalty try from the scrum, but I thought that for most of the game it looked like the Springboks were really under pressure during the scrum. But towards the end of the game it really came right. Whereas in the line-out, Ireland struggled a lot in the line-out. They only had a 71% line-out success rate, which is absolutely not what you want in a game like this. It's very similar to that World Cup pool game where Ireland also really struggled in the line-out. However, one area where the Springboks did struggle was at the restart. They received 9 restarts, but they lost 3 of them, and this allowed Ireland again back into the game. Overall, this is a really great game. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to try to make a bit more of an in-depth video a little bit later in the week. Really look at if we can see something that maybe the Springboks can focus on for next week. What Ireland can maybe do better for next week. So yeah, cheers guys. And I hope you enjoy your day wherever you may be.